The Muscatine City Council will now come to order. Good evening, everyone. We'll begin tonight's business with a roll call by Fran Donaldson.
Councilmembers Lorette.
Present.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Natfig.
Present.
Shahade.
Present.
Bynum.
Present.
Phillips.
Present.
Spread.
Present.
All present, Your Honor.
Very good. Thank you, Fran. Folks, would you rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and again, welcome, everyone. If anyone in council chambers has an issue that they would like to discuss with council, an issue that is not on tonight's agenda, now would be the time to come to the podium. Just give us your name and your address. Very good. We'll move on then. Item number 5 on tonight's business is the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Those items include item 6A through B, item 8A through F, item 9A, item 12A through F, and tonight's bills totaling $1,842,954.05. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move, Your Honor.
Bob?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion, council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Item 7, public hearing. This public hearing concerns the proposed vacation of a public right-of-way remnant in the city of Muscatine. Salvatore and Stephanie Lobianco recently purchased a 3.94-acre parcel located off Myrtle Lane. They're requesting the city vacate, sell, and transfer to them a 10-foot wide access remnant that will allow for the extension of utilities to the property they recently purchased. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
Move to close.
Motion to close, Mark, in a second.
Second.
Second, Scott. Okay, moving along. Item B. Pardon me? Oh, boy, I missed that, didn't I? Oh, okay. That's a voice vote, isn't it, Fran? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries 7-0. I'm thinking ahead. My apologies. Now to item B. This public hearing concerns the proposed Mad Creek Sewer Extension Project. The city has partnered with Ripley's Incorporated to extend sanitary gravity sewer from Park Avenue West to Ripley's Mobile Home Park. The Mobile Home Park is under court order to modify their existing failing lagoon system to meet regulations established by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Options to extend this sanitary sewer were reviewed, including a pump station, but the recommendation from staff and engineers focused on utilizing gravity flow to the existing Mad Creek line. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
Your Honor, I believe, Randy, do we have a short presentation with our engineers? No? Okay.
They didn't show.
Randy Hill, Public Works.
Our engineers apparently got lost in the process of showing up tonight, but I would like to at least share with the council and everyone else the description of the type and location of the project as put in the notice to the bidders. The work includes the construction of approximately 11,800 linear feet of 15-inch sanitary sewer system along Mad Creek. The project includes clearing and grubbing, including tree removal, trenchless construction of approximately 310 lineal feet under Highway 38, removal and replacement of approximately 85 lineal feet sanitary sewer main, construction of 15-inch sanitary sewer main, manhole installation, 10 concrete encased creek crossings, surface restoration, and all associated work. And with that, the engineer, Shoemaker Holland, Mike Welch, is now here to give the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Randy. My apologies for being a few minutes late here tonight. I kind of caught what Randy was saying. It sounds like he kind of went through the project summary for you. And I'm not sure, hopefully I don't repeat what Randy said too much. But one of the major reasons for the project is the failure of the lagoons at the mobile home park. They are in violation of their DNR discharge permit. I can say after kind of walking the project, it's apparent when you get up near the lagoons that they are failing. So I think there is a definite need for the project. One of the things that we looked at when we were designing the project was trying to avoid the potential for bedrock along the creek bottom, kind of following the creek, 'cause that's the low point. I guess myself and John Lutz worked closely to try to pick her out. We were, tried to pay attention to what was out there as far as existing, like I said, creek crossings or tributaries, or there's some large mature oak trees. We kind of ran the route around to protect that. The project will, we have obtained easements from the 6 property owners that we're crossing, so that's all set to go. And as Randy mentioned, the project is ready to go out to bid in the next week or two. So I guess if the council has any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Any questions from anyone in the audience? This is the time for the public to comment. Sir, could you stand and give us your name, please?
Neil Haley, what considerations are being made as far as any adjacent property owners with the possibility to be able to tie on to that sewer?
Is the kind of instruction that was given to us as we were designing it, we looked at Rolling Acres, I believe is the subdivision on the west side of the route, and we kind of we chose a manhole location that would allow that to be extended up a property line into the subdivision at such time that would be something that would happen. One of the other properties we looked at was up just south of the mobile home court. It's my understanding that owner has had interest in maybe developing that in the future. And so we looked at being able to get that sewer extended there. Like I said, the primary focus was getting to the mobile home court, but with the depths of the sewer that we have and the kind of the general terrain in the area, serving areas off of that would be possible.
I was thinking about a property along Highway 61 between New Era Road and Trailer Court.
I guess I'm
Would
not.
that be the old Highway 61 there, sir, that you were referring to? Okay.
Yeah, in that area, I guess I'm not exactly sure where that particular property sits, but this sewer does allow the city to serve areas outside of, like, beyond the mobile home court. And again, that's based on the existing topography and the depth of the sewer.
Yeah.
that we're at.
Right. And any landowner that be interested in tying on to the sewer main should contact Steve Boka, our Community Development Director, at his office, and we can work with you to get that going.
Anyone else?
I wish you'd turn the map around so we can see it.
That's a good idea.
What's going on, we don't. Now, my name is Mandsager, I'm a Wilton Township trustee. So really, I have no input into this except you were going to annex in Ripley's Trailer Park, right?
Yes.
Voluntary,
You're going to have them vote on annexing it into Muscatine.
no, that's not correct. The property owner has agreed to voluntarily annex into the city of Muscatine per the pre-development agreement with the city in order to install sewer to the property.
Okay, but they are going to annex into the city of Muscatine.
The city can annex Ripley's Trailer Court, Ripley's voluntarily, yes.
Do you have enough vote to do that?
Votes are not required, sir. The property owner has agreed to be voluntarily annexed.
It's not Ripley's anymore, is it?
Yes, sir. The property was transferred in the past couple months.
I heard there was another owner besides Ripley's that had bought it before.
There was a previous owner, but presently the owner is Mr. Ripley. It'll be served by the City of Muscatine Fire Department. Yes, sir.
Now they will not cross it if you want to go there unless it's on mutual aid.
Correct.
Okay. I have no other questions. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anything else, sir?
Not for me.
Counsel, anyone?
Your Honor, if we could request folks to come up to the podium so that Fran can make sure we get names and addresses next time, or there's public comment during the public hearing.
Keep in
we'd
mind,
appreciate
folks,
it.
this is a public hearing. We have to keep a record to include your name and address if you're a public that is in need to speak out. Okay, counsel, one more time. Any comments?
Well, just kind of a comment to repeat what the major thrust of this project. It does utilize a gravity system, so it's, over time, it's a much lower cost, operating cost.
Correct, yep.
Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is that Phil?
Yep.
And a second by Scott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Moving along to item C, this public hearing concerns the proposed sale and transfer of public property within the city of Muscatine. The city has been actively involved in negotiations to acquire a portion of the Pierce Furniture property for a redesign and construction of the Colorado Street Improvement Project. As a result of those negotiations, an agreement was reached whereby the city will compensate the Pierce family through a combination of available funds and the transfer of surplus public property known as the Iowa Field. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
Your Honor, again, staff, Steve Boka just has a couple introductory comments for council before we
Okay,
kick things off.
Steve Boka, welcome.
Thank you. Again, just by way of history, the city has undertaken a plan to redesign and redevelop Colorado Street from University Avenue to Park Avenue, and one of the ongoing areas of interest is what I'll call the S-curve leading east from Park Avenue, heading along Colorado Street. And as we proceeded through design and preliminary design construction plans for that, we pursued three different options, one of which would require the taking of the Pierce Mattress Furniture Store. And with that in mind, we began negotiations with the Pierces to see if they were interested in selling, if we could come to some kind of an agreement. We were able to do so. We went to City Council with that. You folks are aware that we have a purchase agreement with them, and as part of the compensation for their loss of that property, we will be using a mixture of available city resources funds and an exchange of real estate that will be Iowa Field, that will make up the difference of what is owed to the Pierce family for the loss of their property so that we can construct Colorado Street. Prior to the exchange of real estate under Iowa law, a public hearing is required. So this is a tie-in to the Colorado Street project and a way to compensate the Pierces. And they expressed interest in surplus city property. This is surplus city property, and that's the reason for the public hearing tonight.
And just one further comment, item 11D will be pushed to the next agenda. Paperwork is not finalized on the project for council action.
So that's correct. We had it on there in the hopes paperwork would be ready. It is not yet ready, so we'll have it on at the earliest convenience. That doesn't stop us from going ahead with the public hearing tonight. And for the record, the exchange or the transfer and sale of this property to the Pierce family is as is. There's nothing the city has to do but give them the real estate for this. It's their responsibility to do whatever they want with the property once they get it.
Well, Steve, I have a couple of questions
Sure.
here. One, first of all, can you explain to us what the Iowa Field is right now? Is it commercial? Is it residential? What is it?
It's currently single-family residential. It'll be transferred to the Pierce family as is, which is single-family residential.
Okay, but it's a wetland, and
It is a wet area. I don't know that it's designated a wetland, but it does have some wet conditions on the site that could be mitigated if it were developed in the future.
All right, thank you.
Other questions that I might be able to answer for council at this point?
Just one, just clarification. It is not dedicated park land or in any way, shape, or form we have to go to a vote of the public in order to transfer it.
It is not.
What I thought.
So if that transfer takes place between the city and peers, they can deem whatever they want to do with Iowa Field.
Well, it would be their responsibility to dispose of to deal with the property in whatever manner they saw fit. If they wanted to subdivide, they'd have to go through subdivision. If they wanted to rezone, they would have to go through rezoning, just like anyone else in the city, and that would come back to you folks for consideration, involve neighborhood input and all of those things. At this point, none of that's on the table.
So before they can do anything with Iowa Field, they have to come back here for rezoning that area, what they need to do.
Well, that's not
to be
entirely
done.
true. Generally, it would be if they wanted to divide, but remember, it's zoned single-family. Theoretically, they could sell that property to somebody that wanted to build a single-family home, and they could construct a single-family home there as long as they met with zoning requirements. If they want to do any division of real estate to develop lots, or if they want to change it for some other purpose, then they would have to go through the process, and it would involve Planning and Zoning Commission public hearings and your involvement.
Anything beyond single residence?
That's right. Now, you could get into a condominium development, but you'd still have some division of real estate and some other things that would require it to come back to you. So, I mean, there are other options here. That's the reason it's proposed to be sold as is. We're not deciding how they may want to use it in the future. It'll be up to them what they want to do, and they'll have to follow the normal process if they develop it.
Steve, have they indicated to any of you planning folks what their intentions might be?
They've had no contact with us regarding this matter at all, other than through their attorney agreeing to accept that property as partial payment.
Okay. Anyone else, council? This is a public hearing, folks.
Somebody in the audience.
Please come to the podium, give us your name and your address, please.
I've been here before, whatever.
Come on up, sir,
Okay,
so that everyone can hear you.
I just have a question. My name is Mandsager. I'm, like I said before, I'm a township trustee. I do not live in Muscatine. I just want to know, what plans do you have for the development out there on the east end of Muscatine? It's so screwed up now. The streets go nowhere. They're curvy. They're just all over the place. There's no whatever.
I'm not so sure, sir, that your question has anything to do with the issue.
You're
on the
talking
table
about
right now.
the furniture store there.
Correct.
I'm sure I know where
So
that's
you would like
at.
to know what the intention is for University Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Can
Where
you give
does
us
it
a
go?
short version of that, Steve?
University of Colorado.
The street was originally designed and used as a rural road, obviously, farm-to-market road, whatever you want to term. It's now a part of the city, so it's undergoing a redesign. It'll have curb and gutter, a 3-lane configuration with storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and sidewalks. And as part of that, we'll be reworking that S-curve to straighten that out and hopefully make it go somewhere.
And a lot less bumps.
A lot less bumps.
I'm not worried about the bumps. I'm just worried about where the street goes. Where does the bypass streets go? They don't. You're going to have to put a lot of stoplights on 61 before you're done.
But again, sir, I'm not,
I know, we were not talking about that now. I'm just voicing my opinion because I'm not a citizen of Muscatine. Muscatine County, yes.
you certainly have a right to your opinion.
Okay, why is there not any access streets on 61 going east?
Well, I'm not sure I follow you.
Okay.
Highway 61 connects with University Avenue, correct? Which
Yes.
connects with Colorado,
Right.
which connects with Park Avenue, which
Now
connects
you're-
with Highway 61 again.
You're getting me lost in there because, like I say, I'm not from this city, but
Your Honor, we really need to stick to the topic for the public hearing, which is Colorado Street and Iowa Field. If the gentleman has any questions on the development out there, he's welcome to come in and talk to city staff. We're more than happy to talk to him about what's going on out that direction.
see, I'm not so sure what Iowa Field is. Where is it?
Well, it's quite a ways from
nowhere to
University
sit
Avenue and from Colorado Street.
But Pierce Furniture
Yes.
is not, right?
Is right on Colorado, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, where is Iowa Field then?
Off Iowa
Avenue.
On Iowa
Iowa
Avenue.
Avenue,
Where?
Iowa Avenue.
Okay,
roughly 11th in Iowa.
I know where Iowa is. No, I'm just voicing my opinion.
As
My
the crow
complaints-
flies, I would say it's probably 1.5 miles.
My complaints is that there is no fire station on the east end of town. You gotta come clear from Cedar Street to Ripley's Trailer Court, right?
Yeah.
That is correct, yes.
How long does that take?
But again, sir, that's not the topic on the table right now.
I'm sorry
with all due
about that.
respect.
I'm out of order, I know that. I've been on enough boards to know. Thank you.
Again, you're more than welcome to come to City Hall anytime and talk to planning and zoning. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir, would you please come to the podium? Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Pat, excuse me, Pat Grimm. I live at 207 West 11th Street. The rear end of my property is adjacent to Iowa Field. And we've lived there for 27 years. I have a strong interest in the field. I'd like to leave it as a green space. To achieve that end, I'm interested in the opportunity to buy it. And with this process that's going on, I don't have that opportunity to buy it. In the past, we've had issues with purchase of Iowa Field. There have been times where the neighbors have gotten together, may have wanted to put a neighborhood group together to buy the field. There may be other people in the neighborhood who would want to buy the field. Last time we went through this, there were developers who wanted to buy the field, and obviously it's valuable to the Pierce people because they're willing to take it as part of this process with Colorado Avenue. So obviously there's value in multiple people who are interested in that field and doing various things with it. So what I would ask of the council is that they separate Iowa Field from the work on Colorado Street. I understand the concern about excess facilities, and I understand the budget constraints of everybody and the maintenance costs for Iowa Field. I just ask that it be separated from this process, and if the city feels they need to sell it, to go out for competitive bids. I think there's enough interest out there that to maximize the value to the city of the property, you'll do that better through competitive bids rather than through this transfer. So I ask for myself personally and my own interest in the property and the opportunity to bid on it. And second, I ask as a general Muscatine citizen that you go out for competitive bids to maximize the value to the city so that it can help the city's budget to the best of its ability. Thank you.
And appreciate that, sir, very much. Anyone else? Yes, sir, and welcome.
My name is Nick Nitzel. Excuse me. I live at 1114 Iowa Avenue, and I've owned a home there since 1978. Kind of sounds like this might be a done deal by what I'm hearing. So, and I want to tell Mr. Bonesock that apparently Iowa Field is a lot closer to Colorado than we thought it was. So anyway, I would concur with Mr. Grimm that I would like to see this also separated from this project. I hate to see the people of Iowa Avenue, of Roscoe, of West 11th Street, and of the surrounding area be affected by taking an S-curve out of Colorado. I don't think that has anything to do with it. And we only found out about this morning. Now, this may be our faults, but is this the first public announcement of this?
This is the first public hearing.
And I don't mean hearing. Has this news been out there? Because I've heard nothing about it, and if I'm wrong or if I haven't been listening, then I take that as my fault. But as I found out about it this morning from Nathan Reichert at 9 o'clock, is this kind of the first thing in the paper? Was that the first notice that this was taking place?
Actually, the paper is here tonight, and that's the purpose of the public hearing, no action will be taken
Okay.
on this issue tonight. This is, in fact, the public hearing.
Okay. Well, I just, my understanding was there have been negotiations going on underneath that no one knew anything about. Am I correct in that?
Well, I think in the negotiation process, several options are being reviewed at this point.
Your Honor, just a quick
I didn't
response.
hear, I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear several options. I just heard one.
Just a quick response. The city council did take action coming out of closed session at our last meeting. That was the
You
first.
said closed, I'm sorry?
The
Closed
city
session?
council took action coming out of, back into public session at our last meeting. That was the first time action was taken in the public. They took action to set a public hearing for tonight at the last meeting. Property negotiations are not subject to open meeting, they're subject to closed session, and the city council has the ability to review that in closed session.
Okay.
Any
Well,
action taken is taken in public.
Okay. I'm not accusing her, I'm just asking for my own.
Yes.
Because this is the first I've heard of it, so I'm just being honest with you. I'm not accusing anyone of backdoor or anything. So you did answer my question about zoning, it is residential, but I don't know that much about it. Does that mean like a single-family home on Iowa Field, or what you talked about dividing it up, but that would have to be approved by council later? Am I incorrect on that, or am I correct? So it would be, if they took Iowa Field, they would build one home.
They could bring one home in, I think, but otherwise it would have to be subdivided.
Further action.
And therefore
Okay.
it'd have to come to planning and zoning.
All right, okay, that's fine. Also, I just want to remind the council that this is a blight area as designated, and I'm not sure that that's going to help our blight area, and then really who would want to put one house in the middle of a blight area? So I'm not sure that's a good idea, but it is something that we need to be aware of. Also, I know years ago, the former city engineer talked about open green spaces in the middle of town, especially for runoff, natural runoff, and that he said that would be an absolutely perfect place for natural runoff, for rainwater and so on, to treat that water naturally and to remove it. And also, I will tell you that you said it wasn't marshy, but I will tell you, living there since '78, we've got some difficulties with a lot of water coming down that ditch, and some of the neighbors can attest where they've had water in their basements and running into the backyards and knocking trees over. So there are some problems there that I know Steve Boka said those could be addressed, and maybe that's the case, or maybe they have been addressed, but we have had some problems there in the past. So again, I would ask that you table this, really think about this, and I too am interested in possibly purchasing the Iowa Field, as maybe some others are. So if you would keep that as an option and separate that away from Colorado Street, I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you, sir. Anyone else in council chambers? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Noel Henneman. I live at 1110 Iowa Avenue, right next door to Nick. I too would be interested in participating with a group of property owners that are adjacent to that field in having the opportunity to discuss a purchase. It seems to me a terrible thing to lose green space. It seems to me that all of us that are adjacent to that field have enjoyed being right next to it, having it as our backyard. We have many, many neighbors around the field that use it. We know of several people that exercise their dogs back there. It's a very quiet place. And on the issue of having lived there now for 14 years, Nick was 30-some, where the fence is placed on that property, it's set back from the property line and up at the top of slope on the end of the field that I'm at, on the easterly end. So the neighbors that border that property, since we've lived there, have been caring for that strip of land that's between our property and where that fence is. And from my perspective, if any private sale occurs and it doesn't involve me, I would certainly like the opportunity to explore the ability to pick up that land that I've been maintaining now for 14 years. So I would urge council to slow down on this one and allow these other public options that you're hearing come forth tonight a chance to play out. Was tonight's notice in the paper the first public notice?
Tonight's notice was in the paper.
Was it the first notice to the public?
Yes.
And this is the third public hearing?
No.
First.
First.
Okay, then the paper's wrong. It said this was the third public hearing. Just wanted to have that clarified.
Thank you. Much appreciated your comments. Anyone else in council chambers?
My name is Daniel Nitzel. I live at 211 West 11th. I know this kind of seems like the Nitzel parade right now, but I appreciate you hearing me out. I'm 28 years old. I've lived in the Iowa Avenue neighborhood my whole life, with the exception of a few years, and I've grown up around that field. And to be honest, no offense to my parents, the idea of moving 2 blocks from them was not a selling point for the house that we purchased. It was definitely the field. And we have a 2-year-old Airedale Terrier that we love to run down there. I see numerous groups of kids playing soccer down there, playing football, riding their bikes. And I think that with Muscatine competing for a Blue Zone certification, and we have this beautiful green space in the middle of town, I just don't see the purpose in losing, such an asset, especially something that, as you can tell, has been very protected by the people that live around it. So I, too, ask that you table this for further consideration. I, too, would like to throw my hat in the ring, interested in purchasing it because it was that important, and that was one of the reasons why we bought the property that we did. It was very important to us that the field was there. The idea of having kids and having a place for them to be at. And let's be honest, you have a business that you're taking over and you're compensating them with land. I would find it hard to believe that they wouldn't be trying to get some money out of this compensation. That's the reason why they were pursuing it in the first place. And I remember growing up and witnessing the fight that the neighborhood had the first time around when they were trying to put low-rent housing up at the field. And like I said, I would find it hard to believe that this isn't, in a way, going to lead back to that type of situation for some sort of compensation for taking away part of their business. That only makes sense to me. So I would ask that you consider to table it or open it up to the public for purchase. I don't mean to be a thorn in your side, but this is really important to us. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't hardly consider your comments to be a thorn in our side. That's why we're having this public hearing. We want your input, and there's obviously a great deal of passion that's surrounding this piece of property located dead center in Muscatine. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment? Seems to be a line.
My name is Carl Negus. I live at 1106 Iowa Avenue. I just purchased my home not more than a month ago, mainly because that was back there. And also, I'd like to compare this even to a big city like Minneapolis. They even cherish their green spaces. They have dog parks. They have places for the kids. In a society where kids don't do enough anyway, if we can get them out in the field playing, why not? That's all I really have to say about it. I don't have the connection that everybody else has to this property, but it was a big selling point, and that neighborhood was a big reason why I bought the home. So I'd just like to say that maybe it's under further consideration too, or maybe purchase, but something other than just exchanging it to straighten out an S-curve, so. That's
Very good. Thank you for your comment. Should I say next?
Mayor?
Yes.
Before we go any further, could Gregg speak at all to the opportunity to bring in a third group, or how difficult, or if it'd be possible to sell the property to a public, it's been brought up to put that out for competitive bid or sell it to another private buyer and then bring that into the equation.
Not, I guess let me clarify that. In order to do that, it would disrupt the current purchase and sales agreement that we have in place. We would not be able to proceed with that current purchase and sales agreement. There'd have to be a new negotiation. And based on all of our comments to date, I guess our recommendation at this point would be that we would not be able to go with the current design for Colorado Street. We'd have to go with a different design.
Well, let me answer that question here and see if I'm on the right track. We are purchasing the Pierce building here, okay? For that building, we are giving them a lump sum for that, in addition to Iowa Field.
Correct.
Okay, now, if we just purchase the building, how much more can we give them without Iowa Field and put Iowa Field out for bid?
I'm not
That's a
comfortable
question.
answering that
Is
question.
that, can we do that?
I'm not
That's one.
comfortable.
Is that something that they can entertain? I mean, I'm just asking here based on if there's people interested in purchasing that, is that an option for us? And that's what I think Mark is asking here. Is that either take it or leave it, or is that something that, okay, here's the building, this is the amount for the building. If you don't want to give us Iowa Field, the amount will be X number here. So is that an option on the table, Steve? Do we know, or is that?
It's not a subject we can discuss in open session.
Oh, okay.
I guess maybe the specific question I had was how much,
I don't
what
know.
kind of delay in the process are we looking at if we try to do something like
I'm
that?
going to defer to Steve, perhaps. He may be able to answer it, may not. I mean, we're following a state IDOT process because we have outside funding for this project. We have state funding for this project, federal funding. There's a specific process that we have to follow. Randy, where are you? Colorado, bid, you don't you have to get up, bid letting timeframe in order to get it completed. We were looking to extend that into winter of 2013.
Right, the current schedule that's laid out for us is the earliest we can go out for bid right now is July. And that's based on, moving forward without having to go back and do anything. So that's the earliest we can bid this. It's going to be a 2-year project. It'll have to be phased. We'll have to be able to accommodate the schools, the businesses over there. We knew that regardless of when we let this contract. So more than likely, it's going to be a 2014, maybe late 2014, 15 project.
Until we have an answer on what direction we're going with the curve, we can't finalize plans, and that delays our ability to let the project.
I think part of what, unless I'm mishearing, basically funding the project, whatever the additional proceeds needs to be. I'm not necessarily saying I'm in favor of this, but there's X number of dollars that's going and property. If we know approximately what the total dollars it would take to purchase their building, we fund that, and then we declare the Iowa Field surplus, and we get out of it what we can and put the money back into the budget.
That's certainly one option the council has, obviously.
And that wouldn't, unless the Pierce family.
Pierce family can do that as well.
Oh, yeah,
Once the property is transferred, I mean, the Pierce property, we don't know what's going to happen with that property.
Right.
It may say it's green space. It may, they have the opportunity to build on it. Anything they do over one residential home, as Steve indicated, would have to go to planning and zoning. And they may put it up for sale. I don't know what they're going to do with the property. They'd have that, they have the ability to do those items just like anybody, any other property
But if we
owner.
funded the project, the entire cost of the mattress building,
Perhaps it would have to be negotiated.
and Exactly, but we'd have to go back into negotiations, and if they accepted that, we could do that, but we can't answer that tonight.
No.
Yeah, I think
And I
Gregg
don't want to
alluded
get
to
into
that.
the dollar particulars either tonight.
That the Pierces obviously would I'm sure they would entertain buyers if they were interested, and I'm not sure that they have plans to do anything with it. Having said that, if the council decides to declare the surplus and offer it to the public, and you have the potential for multiple buyers, the only way you're going to do that is now you're going to subdivide the property so you can convey title to pieces of it to adjacent property owners. So there's some additional costs with surveying, platting it, determining whether you actually have buyers for it once you do, and hoping that you sell the balance of the property so you're not stuck with remnants up in Iowa Field that nobody wants. And then you've got landlocked public property. The advantage to this, if there is an advantage to the city, is that it promotes some sort of infill. It could still be sold to adjacent property owners, but we're dealing with one property owner. If we have to deal with multiple property owners, in order to do that, we have to determine how much they're willing to buy and how much we can sell, and then we have to have it surveyed, platted, recorded, do all of those things.
Unless
With the expectation we'll recover our costs.
Unless the group of them get together and they buy it.
As an entity?
As an entity.
That would take some legal work on their part, but it could be done in that fashion.
That'd be a neighborhood incorporation is all I assume.
I mean, speaking generally, we know the value of the property that we've placed on it. If you were to take it, open it up for bid, I would suggest that at a minimum, that would be the minimum value of the property, because we know what it is, what it's going to take to make the current deal. That would, in my mind, be the minimum value of the property.
Steve, as far as the grant money that we're, for the Colorado project, there aren't any intermediate deadlines that we're up against, or?
Well, I
Maybe
don't
that's a
speak for
question for
Public
Randy.
Works, but I don't believe we're up against any timetable as long as we're making reasonable progress. And when you get into these negotiations, these things do happen, so.
Yeah, okay.
It's been pushed back several years already, but the fact that we are this far into the project, the design for the most part is completed, the acquisition is the last remnant to the final design. We know when the state requires a review of the preliminary bids, the final review, or the bids of the design, final design plans. So I don't think that any of the grant money, which is like $1.2 million, would be in jeopardy.
At risk, okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. Sir, you wanted to? Sure.
Justin Johnson, Your Honor, City Council, I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I've lived at 215 West 11th Street for 4 years now, and once again, along with the community and the neighborhood in which I live, Iowa Field was a big selling point for me. I think the amount of usage that it receives, both from, the neighborhood and from children outside the neighborhood that come in, has already been demonstrated, so I won't beat a dead horse there. But I guess the first thing I would like to state is just a rhetorical question. Mr. Mandsager, you said that, going forward with this is best for the project. And that's kind of a short-term thought. My question for you is it best for the community and is it best for the city? In those respective orders. If there is a fiscally more advantageous direction for it to go that would allow both to occur, I think backing off a deadline on the turn of a road would be worth that in the long term when I look at the big picture. The second is a non-rhetorical question. I guess my question is this. I've used Iowa Field quite a bit, and I know the only street that butts up to it is Amy Drive, to my knowledge, as far as that's not, that's wide enough. And I guess my question is how wide would the public land have to be down Amy Drive or on the Iowa side where it butts up to put in a two-way street to develop a single dwelling? If Pierce's were to buy it and decide to put a single home up there, there would have to be a road put in, and I'm wondering how wide would it have to be in order to put that road in?
road would not be required to be extended. The road frontage, legal frontage, could be Amy Drive, or it could be Iowa Avenue as lots of record. So they would, all they needed is a driveway like anybody would have to have for a house to go back in there. If there is more than one home back there, they have to have their frontage on an improved public street. So as the property develops, they would have to either extend a road or do something else to accommodate it. But the first single-family home would require nothing more than a driveway.
Thank you, sir, and I guess that leads me to my next question. If it's sold as is, since it's a private property, then eminent domain would not fall in as a factor, and if those two thoroughfares, both Iowa and Amy, are not wide enough to provide both the two-way street, and my understanding is that new streets would have to have a sidewalk on both sides, how would it be zoned to be multiple drives without the city stepping in and then taking over to put that street in? I guess maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but it sounds like a lot of the decisions have been kind of the cart before the horse if we're this far into the planning and now we're backing this back onto the table. So I guess my question is, how would that street be put in if it were to be rezoned? Would eminent domain come in, and if so, on which side?
First of all, if the transfer takes place as proposed, or that we've talked about tonight to Pierce, no eminent domain is necessary. They would be responsible for proposing a development strategy for the property, as would any property owner. That could and might include the street. If it comes in as if there is a proposal before the council or before the planning commission to extend a street, to create lots, it will meet city standards, it will meet sidewalk standards, and it'll be designed to do that. Amy is currently a designated city street. An extension of Amy Drive to feed that neighborhood would be a continuation similar to what you have on Amy Drive. They have to meet the city requirements for a public street when they develop, and that would be the responsibility of the developer. It has nothing to do with eminent domain on the part of the city, because it's a private development, not a public development.
And it would have to be paid for by the private developer.
That's correct.
And then the street would be built to city standards and then dedicated or given to turned over to the city. I forget the term.
Correct, in the same way any subdivision in the city is ever processed.
Right.
Steve?
I'm sorry, I guess maybe you misunderstood my question. It's actually at the two ends, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I don't think either end is wide enough because of private property that comes up on either end, or maybe I'm misinformed.
Amy Drive meets the statutory requirements for right-of-way to access that property for development. I don't know how practical it is engineering-wise. I can't respond to that, and we haven't pursued it because we're obviously not trying to develop it. But it does meet that requirement. The fact that it's a lot of record on Iowa Avenue gives them some responsibility or some leeway to come in from that way, depending on the development, those kinds of things. But that's all speculative. I don't know what that would be. Any other questions from anybody while I'm here?
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else in the audience?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Reichert, and I live at 1155 Iowa Avenue, and my kids have used the field all the time. We walk right across, have a picnic. Simon learned how to play baseball in the field. The community uses this green space. The neighborhood uses this green space. I've heard a lot of talk about money tonight. If this is about money, or is this about the community involvement of kids having fun in a park? I wish you would consider tabling this and separating it from the Colorado project, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else in council chambers? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Linda Smith, and I do not live close to Iowa Field, but that green space extends a lot farther than just the neighbors around the green space. Children from clear up by Washington School go down cut down through the gully, down Hagerman and Amy Drive, and go in and use that as a park. It is the only space out on West Hill that the kids have enough room to get up there and have a football game, a baseball game, a soccer game, whatever. It does supply a place for many, 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 many people to use. And it would be a tragedy for the city and the people of West Hill and Iowa Avenue to lose that space to use as a dog walk, as a game for the kids. It does supply entertainment for many, many, many children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in council chambers?
Hi, I'm Lori Nitzel. I live at 1114 Iowa Avenue. And with all due respect, it's my understanding that this council represents us as your people that have voted you into these offices. So I do appreciate you listening to our thoughts and our concerns tonight. I did have a concern when I spoke to one council member about this project. And I said, did you ever think how this affects the residents that live along this field? And the comment was, we didn't even think about the residents. This is extremely concerning to me as a resident and a taxpayer. I've lived at this property for 33 years. I've raised 7 children here. We lived there long enough to realize that the school owned that field. They had football practices there. It is my understanding that the city acquired this field from the school. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did you purchase it from the school? Or was it donated from the school so they could get it off their hands?
I think that latter comment is...
So the city has not really had to pay any money to have this green space except to mow it and to do a little bit of snow removal in the front. I am a stay-at-home mom, so I see what goes on in the field. I know how many times it's mowed, and I know when they come to do the snow removal. Very, very minimal. I would be very interested to know what this field truly cost our city to run, to have. Because for me, this is a huge, huge problem. If you sell this property, not one of us here, of these neighbors, have any idea what this is going to be used for. And I guarantee Osama, any of you sitting on this panel, if your property butted to a green space and you had no idea what they were going to use this space for or how it was going to affect the value of your property, you would be extremely concerned. And sir, I feel tonight your only goal, with all due respect, is to get this deal done, and I understand that from a business point. But I'm telling you right now, that's not representing these people who this council is representing, from my understanding. The Colorado Street project, these are our properties. These are our families. These are what my husband and I have spent our whole life trying to pay off. If you have to lessen that curve to make this doable, we have learned if you can't afford it, you don't do it. If you have to lessen that curve to make this doable by our city government, what we have in our treasury, then you need to do the right thing. I would like to know as a citizen the reason that this is such a priority to make this curve that I've lived here my entire 57 years. Are there recordable accidents that have happened there that have had any loss of life? Can you answer that for me? Is this like the bypass area where there were recordable deaths that happened on this S-curve? Can anyone answer that for me tonight? Is this project so important to straighten out when I've lived here my whole life, never had one problem with that S-curve, that you're willing to put all of our properties in danger of lowering our values when we're already in a blight zone? Is it that important for our community? Is that really representing our people? I don't think so. I would like to say, as a citizen of Muscatine all my life, if something of this magnitude that affects this many people, and this is a very small showing of the people budding this property, receive no notification, no written notification, no notification. I don't get the journal. If I had not been given the notification by Reichert's this morning, I wouldn't even know this. This is my livelihood. I expect to know if you're going to do something with a property that will affect my property. And every one of you know that's true. You all who own homes know you would want to know. So with all due respect, I am begging you to do what the moral, ethical thing is to listen to the people here tonight, not be trying to make some quick deal that's going to make it easy on the city. I don't care. My 33 years trying to pay my house off wasn't easy on me. So I don't want a quick deal. I want a right deal, and I appreciate you listening to me tonight.
Anyone else in council chambers?
I'm Tim Storr.
Tim, you have a tough act to follow.
I'll keep it short. Tim Storr, 1116 Iowa Avenue. My property line lines right up next to the entryway on Iowa Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I did not find out about it until Lori called me today, and that there would probably be more people here if it wouldn't have been such a short notice. There were other people that had prior commitments that are our neighbors that were unable to come tonight. So I just wanted to say that, this is, I don't know how many more people, but I could say I talked to at least 4 other people that said that they couldn't come tonight because they had prior commitments. And I know that it's a very important space. I have 3 children that I've lived there for 12 years, I think, and I have small children that we've played out there, baseball and flied kites and shot rockets off and things like that. So we used it. A lot of people there, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are people that come from, and that are not just neighbors, but they will come from another part of the town with their pet, their dog, whatever, and will stop by and have their dog come out. I can think of several people, not that I know their names, but it is used not only by the neighbors, but by other people in the city too. So, and it's a nice green place to have, so that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else in council chambers? Obviously, a lot of passion for the topic at hand in council chambers tonight, and just as a footnote, I'd like to see this many people in council chambers every time we have a council meeting. This is very healthy, folks. That's why we have this. That's why it's called a public hearing. Osama?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment here, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the rest of the council, but for me. Probably a few of you sitting in this chamber here, they do know that Iowa Field, it's dear to my heart, and for 2 reasons. One, I coach soccer here in Muscatine since 1986. Beside Heinz Field, some of you probably don't even know about Heinz Field, but besides Heinz Field, Iowa Field was our soccer field. And the reason I'm saying this, I coach kids during that period who are on that field, who are married now, who have kids now. And the best picture that I have of myself, it was taken in Iowa Field due to the fact that I have more hair than Mr. Nitzel does at that time. So, just for the record here, that I know exactly where they are coming from, and I do respect what was said tonight, and I take it to heart, and it's just one thing that we need to add here, that this is not a done deal. It hasn't been voted on, and hearing you and your concern here, it's very valuable here for the rest of the council to make the right decision. So with that, thanks for everybody being here tonight and express their opinion on this, so, thank you.
Any other comments from council?
Mayor, I used to use Iowa Field to practice soccer too when we played over at West, so I've got some attachment to it too. I didn't realize it affected so many people, I'll say that. But.
Just for the record, Scott was a bad soccer player, so that, I don't know if that scores anything on there or not, but.
Could we stick to the topic here?
Yeah.
And Phil?
No, nothing.
Mark?
Yeah, I have a couple comments, Mayor, actually. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming down. I often make comments at the end of these meetings about the fact that we often have empty seats down here. So it's really nice to see a full group and get this kind of input on something. If you don't speak up, if you don't talk, generally speaking, we're going with the information that we have. So it's very important that you're involved in these decisions. You come down, attend meetings, and speak up on these issues. I'd also like to address a couple of things that were said earlier. One thing that we should remember, somebody mentioned that, was it about money or was it about a park? You have to remember that this council is responsible for the financial well-being of this city. So when we're making decisions, money is always part of the discussion, because what decisions we make decides how much taxes you pay. And it should be remembered, there was a lot of talk about having, Mr. Henneman, I think, made the point that he likes having that as part of his backyard. He's enjoyed it as part of his backyard. It is not the city's place to be providing anyone's backyard. Okay? That's why you buy property. That said, I would make a motion, and I know we have other counselors that need to make comments at this time.
Mark,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you can't make a motion during that.
I can't make a motion? No. Okay. Well, then I'll stop there.
Okay. Tom?
Very simply, I do appreciate the input. This is intended to be a public hearing. We need to hear from you, and I do appreciate your comments. And I just want to make everyone aware that at least this council person has not yet made up his mind about what to do with this. It is a proposal on the table, and I'm glad to hear from you. And we'll do our best to represent everyone's best interests.
Jeanette?
And I agree with Tom. I'm glad to see the people that are here and appreciate all the comments and everything, and I think that'll help us make a better decision.
Councilman Bynum?
Mayor, there's a kind lady that's waiting.
And I'm going to get to her.
Okay, just make sure that she has her speak. I'm certainly not decided tonight either. Iowa Field goes with me back to Central Middle School at that time, where we had to run out to the field, exercise, and then run back, male or female. It didn't matter. George Overson made you do it. And it's a lot of good times, a lot of bad times, but overall it was a good run. But we all need to think about exactly what this is going to mean to the city. Not to one family, but those families around that Iowa Field. It may be a marsh, but it's a marsh that's been enjoyed more and more. And we all, as a council, need to decide which way to vote. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll take one more comment from the audience. She's positioned herself to make that comment. Mrs. Reichert, good evening.
I'm Linda Reichert. You probably wonder why Nathan isn't here. He feels very strongly about Iowa Field. That's why he made the calls this morning. He's working tonight, so he couldn't be here. Otherwise, he would have been here to speak also.
That it? Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, maybe just a quick wrap-up, remind folks. We've got Colorado Street is basically a rural road. It's falling apart. It needs to be reconstructed. We have a plan to reconstruct it over two years. In addition to that, Shoemaker, Holland, and city staff have come up with two options for that S-curve. One requires the purchase of property. One does not require the purchase of property and can be done without purchasing the Pierce Mattress Store. So we have two options on the table for council to consider. Option number one, which is the purchase of property, is really what we're here tonight for the public hearing to hear comment on or to take comment on. And again, if the council wishes to, I guess, to proceed with the purchase of or to the sale, excuse me, of that property, I believe we can set that at, and we have a minimum value we can set that at. However, again, all we're talking about tonight is the ownership of that property, whether it remains in the city's hands or if it's transferred to a private party. And we are not talking about the use of that property of Iowa Field. That would be determined, obviously, if it remains in the city's hands, status quo, unless some other use is determined in the future. But it's up to the private property owner to go through our processes with the planning board, planning department, city council, before a determination is made on any future use of that property. So again, we've got two options on the table. One requires property, one does not require property. So just a quick summary.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification, Greg. And just so you know, folks, every comment made tonight is a matter of public record. It's what's called a public hearing again. Okay, is there, and everyone that has wanted to speak, I'm going to assume, has spoken, and very passionately, I might add, and that's very much appreciated. So I think at this point, is there a motion to close?
Move to close.
That would be Tom, and a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Bob. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving right along to item 10 on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing to consider the vacation of an alley right-of-way remnant in the city of Muscatine. A request has been received from H&I for the vacation of a portion of alley number 1 off of Mulberry Avenue in Block 16. H&I intends to construct and then maintain the vacated alley as an access route to a parking lot. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. This hearing will be held on Thursday, October 4th, 2012 at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
That would be Scott, and a
Second, Your
second.
Honor.
Second, Osama. Any discussion, council? This is a roll call vote. We'll begin with Scott.
Aye.
And Phil.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Jeanette.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
And Osama.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item B, presented for...
Gary Carlson.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Hey, Mayor.
Carlson. Where do you live, Gary?
I live at 104 Deer Path Lane.
Thank you.
It's not near Iowa Avenue. But I thought we had something more exciting, but I guess we don't. So I appreciate the council voting. Some of you were on the Enterprise Zone Commission representing the city when we applied for this project, and I did bring along some maps so you understand the total reason that we want the vacation of that property. So I just wanted to reiterate the fact that that alley, which we have been maintaining for a long period of time, and turning it into a parking lot, is so that we can do a $20 million expansion of our Han laminate facility. And as you look at the maps that I'm passing out to you, the top one shows what kind of a current configuration of the area. And if you look at page number 2, it would be what we would anticipate that to be over the next 3 years as we expand the property to increase our laminate capacity and capability. Will be, we're making a commitment of adding additional 10 jobs. And if you look at the third page, you'll see it even more close-up of how we would reface that building. So as you are all quite aware, as the H&I properties, we have worked very hard to make an investment in those and to do landscaping and to do as much as we can with the central city area that we own to make it as attractive as possible, as well as a great place to work. And that's what this project is about. We have submitted to the Iowa Department of Economic Development for some support for this work in the enterprise zone. We do anticipate that the state of Iowa is going to be supportive, perhaps not quite as supportive as we would have liked, but they will be supportive. But we will be making an investment of over $20 million in this project. And I'd entertain any questions that you might have about the project.
Mayor, I do have one comment. We as a city of Muscatine appreciate what H&I does for us, and you're constantly looking for improvements, and by golly that you do it.
Well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that. And I would be remiss not to say that one of the reasons that we have the confidence of investing the additional $20 million and to continue to invest in employment in downtown, certainly aided by the extension and raising of the Mad Creek levy. And I don't want you to think that that did not go unnoticed by us and is helping us make that continual commitment.
Sure.
But Han has made a lot of,
Pardon, Scott,
Han has made a lot of contributions on your end too, downtown.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Including like the easement.
Yeah, we were glad to help in getting that project accomplished, but it's a good win for the entire community, I believe.
So could you just, and I remember the numbers, but this $20 million plus or minus project, what's how many jobs does that maintain in the city?
We in the Oak Laminate facility, we employed today 270 members. We believe that if we make the investment in that, we'll now maintain those 270. We'll increase by about 10 more, because this equipment is obviously to increase productivity and stuff as well, so it's not huge. If we weren't making the investment in the Oak Laminate facility, we would probably put this equipment in one of our other facilities we have in the country, either in our Indiana location or our Georgia location, and I would say over time that probably eliminate about 140 to 170 of those positions. So it is a critical decision for us to make it in Iowa. But I will tell you, since the last time I met with you, Phil, as part of the enterprise zone, we believe the state of Iowa is going to be supportive enough for us to positively make the decision. So I feel very confident we are going to do it in Muscatine.
Thank you.
We'll know a little later when their board votes. And I was talking to Mike. I'm not sure whether in the meeting. I've got 2 emails. One of them said the meeting is Friday, and one of them said it's next Thursday. We don't go to either one of them, so it's not so critical. I know the exact date, but we will know before the end of the month for sure.
Anyone else, council? No. I would say, Gary, much appreciated, and point out that this also provides a very attractive gateway to downtown Muscatine.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks very much.
Vast improvement.
Yes.
Okay, moving along to 10B, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the final plat for the LBM and/or Phelps subdivision. A request has been received for a combined preliminary final plat for the LBM Phelps subdivision for the replat of Lot 2 on behalf of LBM Storage. If approved, Phelps Laundry intends to purchase Lot 2B and relocate its operation to an existing structure on that parcel. Both Lots 2A and 2B will have their frontage on Hershey Avenue. The owners of Lots 1, 2A, and 2B will enter into an agreement for access and maintenance of the private road named Newcomb Boulevard. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So move, Your Honor.
That would be Bob.
Second.
And second, Tom. Discussion, council.
Mayor.
My name is Kevin Shea. I'm the attorney for LBM Storage.
Welcome, Kevin.
Nice to be here, and you did have a crowd tonight. It is nice to see. This is just a plat that was required because the two buildings that are existing were on the same parcel, and to sell one of the buildings off, there had to be a platting and access to Hershey established. I can answer any questions anyone has. As far as our maintenance agreement, I think we're in the final stages of that. That should be completed here next day or two. Pretty straightforward, pretty hopefully non-controversial for you.
So is Phelps vacating then their property on Park Avenue West?
I think that because of the fire, they needed someplace to go rather quickly, and I think Mr. Phelps was looking at this too as an expansion opportunity for him.
Okay, so this is a permanent move.
Yes, I believe it is.
Council, any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And no discussion from council. Roll call vote. Let's begin with Bob.
Aye.
Sama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Jeanette?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item C, presented for city council's consideration is a request to set a public hearing on the vacation of utility easements in lots 21 and 22 of Riverbend Second Edition in the city of Muscatine. A request has been received to vacate a 10-foot wide utility easement composed of two adjoining 5-foot utility easements located on lots 21 and 22 of the Riverbend Second Edition on Claremont Drive. It is the property owner's intent to combine these two parcels, and the vacation of these utility easements will allow all necessary utility easements to be located along the perimeter. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved the request. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. This hearing will be held on Thursday, October 4th, 2012, at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Jeanette?
Second.
Second. Is that you, Mark? Okay. Any discussion, council? Also, roll call vote. Let's begin with Jeanette.
Aye.
And Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Moving to item 11 from the city administrator, presented for city council's consideration is the second reading of an ordinance revising Title 7 Police Regulations, Chapter 18, Snow Emergency Regulations. When snow emergency is declared, on-street parking is limited in order to allow plows to access and clear the entire street during a winter storm. The revised ordinance will affect those who park their vehicles on the streets of Muscatine outside the central business district. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of the ordinance as submitted?
So move.
That would be Mark. And a second?
Second.
Second, Scott. Discussion, council. Roll call vote, beginning with Mark.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And Phil?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item B, presented for city council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance vacating a public right-of-way within the city of Muscatine. The public hearing for this vacation request was held earlier in the meeting. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Phil, and second, I heard a voice that direction.
Tom.
Discussion, council.
Tom.
Got it. Thank you, Bob. Got it. No discussion, roll call vote, beginning with Phil.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
And Scott?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item C, presented for city council's consideration is a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form a contract, cost estimate, and setting the bid opening date for the Mad Creek Sewer Extension Project. The public hearing for this project was held earlier in tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
That would be Scott, and a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Osama. Any discussion, council? This is a roll call vote, beginning with Scott.
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette? Bob?
Aye.
And Osama?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Item D, as it was noted, will be
Your Honor?
moved to the next regular meeting. Is that?
Well, I guess I have a question for you. On item D, obviously, we're not taking action tonight on the purchase and sales agreement. However, it was properly noticed, and if the council would wish to have further discussion on the topic, this would be the appropriate time and place to do that. And provide some additional direction to city council of information you'd be looking for at the next city council meeting, or the next regular city council meeting.
I think some of the discussion we cannot disclose in open
Correct.
session. It has to be in closed session.
Correct.
So I will make a motion to table this to a closed session. Can I do that?
Well, it's not required. We'll simply put a closed session on for the next agenda.
For the next agenda?
Yes.
Is that?
I don't need,
I mean,
I don't need a motion. We'll definitely include that on the next agenda with action to
We
follow. I was just looking, if there was some general discussion the council wished to have, now would be an opportunity to have that. No action, just general discussion, perhaps information that you'd like to have going into the next regular session.
Okay, we'll dedicate some time to do that. Anyone on council want to have a discussion on this item that was so passionately discussed earlier tonight?
I guess the only thing I'd like to see is if the option, I think council is pretty, at least coming out of the last closed session, we were pretty together on the fact that there was one particular option we wanted to move forward with in terms of the design for the road. The question becomes, how do we fund it? And we've gone through some negotiations. We had a public hearing. The feedback seems to be that, especially from the people who live close to that land, that are going to be most affected by that purchase, if we go that route, would like to see that taken out of the purchase agreement. And I guess what I'd like to see is us go back and, if we don't include that land, what would we have to do to?
Throw money in.
The
Right.
only thing is, you know what the value of Iowa Field is. Therefore, you're going to put it, if you don't go with the route that is proposed now, the next thing would happen is, okay, give the building the way it is, and probably put Iowa Field up for bid for a minimal amount that is required. I mean, that's, the lowest bid will come at that. And then whoever is the highest bidder will be awarded that.
You're correct, but you still end up with a private property, with private property instead of public property, and a private owner or owners that puts you in the same position as if we were to sell the property to the Pierce brothers, for example.
But at that point, the adjacent property owners have an option.
Absolutely.
An option.
Yeah.
That's the
Absolutely.
only,
Absolutely.
that's the
That's
only
been-
benefit to that option.
You know, as I guess as I see it, we really, from my perspective, have three options. One, you continue down the road with the purchase and sales agreement with the Pierce brothers. Two, you have a public sale for that property with a minimum value set, or you leave it as green space and go with option number two.
Go with the
Option number
greater
two.
curve.
And, you know, I guess, I'll throw a fourth option out there, and that's you add it to the levy, but in order to do that, you increase the tax rate. I mean, that's a fourth option.
Is there I know we focused on Iowa Fields as a parcel that we thought was something we would trade. Is there another parcel?
We've got a number of remnant parcels that really wouldn't be
Have value?
any value to anyone. We've got the park at the corner of Hauser by the soccer complex, but until we have a final solution with the soccer complex, I couldn't recommend that. That's used quite a bit for parking. I certainly wouldn't want to go there. So no, not in my mind. I think we evaluated that during this process. So
We've evaluated numerous properties over the years that when times were tough and we thought we needed additional funds, and most of them were parkland, dedicated parkland that could not be sold without going through a vote. Recreational areas, we've talked about a couple of those. I thought this was a pretty good option. It still is a good option. It's just a matter of whether we want to turn around and offer it up to the highest bidder and give the adjacent property owners a chance to purchase it as a group.
But the Pierce family would have to be amenable to that because we have a contract on the table.
Well, and that's the other thing is, I mean, there's a sales agreement already done.
Well, that sales agreement is a purchase and sales agreement, and it's subject to city council approval.
And we have not voted on it yet.
Just to clarify that.
Yeah, it's a purchase agreement,
It's a
not a
purchase
sales
agreement,
agreement. There's a big
it's a
difference.
purchase and sales agreement subject to city council approval.
Okay.
That is what is on the table. So no, it requires council approval for that action, and the the Pierce family and their attorney are well aware of that condition. That was made very clear during this process. So, but if we are to put the property up for a public sale with a minimum value, you open it up to everybody, not just the property owners. And then if you end up with a high bidder that could have very clear intentions on the reuse of that property to maximize its value, I mean, once you do that, I mean, and you go down that road, it goes to the highest bidder, highest responsible bidder.
But most of the property owners that spoke, or the people that spoke tonight, wanted that option.
I understood.
It appeared to me.
Understood.
Some of them did, but
I think.
Some of them
we
clearly
understand
wanted
that.
to just remain green space.
Gentlemen, let's try to maintain a little bit of order here, okay?
Yeah, I think they understand that. Ouch. They understand that also. Cramp. Ouch.
Desk.
Is that in the public record?
So.
I mean, I guess if it doesn't slow down or impede the process too much, in terms of win-win, I think giving them the opportunity to do that, and granted, there's no guarantee they have the high bid, but they did it. I thought several of them made a very good point that they invested in those properties, partially because that green space was there. So giving them the opportunity to control that, at least to bid on the property, I'd be interested in pursuing that.
Your Honor, I guess as a suggestion, I might offer that staff coordinate with A&R, which is the firm that's in charge of this, or working on this process on our behalf. We can certainly talk to the property owner, see if they're amenable to some time, to allow us some time on this issue. And we could certainly put a closed session on for the next council meeting. But I want to be very clear that coming out of that closed session, then there would be one or multiple recommendations or potential action items. We may actually, coming out of that, however, I won't be able to list those because I won't be able to tell in advance exactly what those are. So I just want to be very clear that to the public that there would be potential for action coming out of that closed session. And we always list that.
I have just one other comment about the process, and that is several of the folks expressed concern that the first they heard of it was in the paper this morning, I guess. And I didn't read the paper this morning. I was out of town. I got here 30 minutes before the meeting. Sorry, Mike. But is there a better way to inform the public of a public hearing? Are we doing everything we can and should? Or have I got it wrong?
Without sending individualized notice to folks, I mean, the first notice was a month ago, not a month ago, was at the last regular meeting when we came out of closed session and took
It's in the minutes of the meeting.
And took action
Right.
At that point in time. And I believe the paper reported on it a day or two later. I don't recall. Okay. But that was the first time there was public action. And then public notice was put in the newspaper regarding the public hearing, but not without individualized notice. Sure. It's always on the website as well.
Sure.
Greg, what kind of a time frame, how much is it going to slow us down? to put it up for bid and let these people bid on it and see what happens.